Am I wrong for wanting a painting made by my late sister in my house, even though it triggers my husband, who's her widower? I, a 34 female, had one sibling who was 25 when she passed. She died in a car crash just 3 months after her wedding. It has now been 12 years since her passing. We were very close and more like best friends and then sisters. My now husband, 38 male, Adam, was a constant presence in my family's lives even after her death, as he would visit my parents regularly and they dote on him very much. 5 years ago, we started getting close and got married 2 years later. My sister used paint as a hobby and had left behind 8 paintings. My parents took 2 for themselves, I took 3, and my parents gave away the rest to her close friends, and they offered Adam to take any he wanted, but he refused. I really liked the 3 paintings and displayed them in my apartment proudly before getting together with Adam, as I felt closer to my sister, but once we became a thing, the paintings seemed to upset him, so I kept them in storage instead. I understand everyone grieves differently, and for Adam, anything associated with her triggers him, and he goes back to that awful day when he found out she was gone. We have no pictures of her at our house or any memento left by her. All this time I've been understanding, but I feel like I've completely erased her from my life and brought up the subject of displaying one painting to commemorate her in our house the other day. Adam shut the idea down immediately and refused to even hear my side. I was hurt by this as I've been considerate to him all these years, but he didn't even think to consider my feelings about the situation. It worsened when I suggested grief counseling together today, which made him even more upset. He wasn't yelling, but he was clearly distraught by me continuing the subject. He said he already went through grief counseling and my insistence is just opening old wounds. I was angry at the time and told him why did he ever consider marrying me when the thought of her makes him this upset and knowing how much she meant to me. He told me he can't handle me or this conversation anymore and went to his brothers to cool off as he doesn't want to say anything he'll regret later. Now all alone I'm thinking I might have taken things too far. So am I wrong here? Ew, like that's so weird. Am I the only one who thinks that's like nasty? Like yes, you're wrong. You're wrong. Am I wrong for asking my girlfriend not to eat so much? I know the title sounds bad, but this is a pretty specific situation, so please hear me out. I, 26 male, have been dating a woman we will call Ashley, 26 female, for about 3 months. Ashley grew up financially well off and relatively privileged and has been a point of friction in our relationship, with her not understanding / grasping the level of poverty I and my family grew up with. It is also relevant to the story that Ashley is a heavier person and is a very vocal advocate for body positivity and will very assertively stand up to anyone fat-shaming herself or others. The other person who is relevant to the story is my grandma, who is 70 years old. My grandma is a wonderful woman, but she is both very proud and very broke. She likes to have us over for dinner and is an excellent cook, but financially, she can't really afford it. She refuses to take any money from me or anyone else and won't let anyone bring food, saying it's her responsibility to take care of the family. She also takes offense if you turn down the invitation. About a month ago, we had dinner with her, and Ashley liked the food so much, she went back for a second and a third large portion. This is not done in my family. We all take a single small portion, as the leftovers are what my grandmother has to eat for the week, so Ashley taking more meant my grandma didn't have anything to eat for the rest of the week. After the dinner, I explained this to Ashley and she was shocked. I tried to bring my grandmother food, but she refused the charity out of pride. My grandmother has invited us for dinner again this weekend. Before we go, I tried to have a discussion with Ashley, reiterating my grandmother's financial situation and asking that she try to only take a single smaller portion so my grandmother can have food for the week. I said we can go eat again after the meal if she was still hungry. Ashley got very angry at this and said she will not be shamed for her eating and she will not limit her food and that no one other than her decides when she's had enough food. She also said I was fat shaming her. This whole ordeal has highlighted a lot of incompatibility issues and I don't know if the relationship is going to last, but just want some other opinions on this if I'm the asshole. So am I wrong for asking my girlfriend to limit her eating? No, bro, your poor grandma needs to eat too, man. Have some sympathy. Am I wrong for telling my sister that she should have aborted my niece when she had the chance? I grew up in a single-parent household with my mother and my half-sister Casey, who is 7 years younger than me. My mother struggled with drug abuse for the majority of her life, and as a result, I have no clue who my father is. Casey's father was also heavily into drugs and only stuck around for 3 years. I basically raised Casey because when my mom wasn't at work, she was either gone for days on end, holed up in her bedroom / bathroom doing drugs with whoever her boyfriend was at the time. I am now 31 and have no desire to have children after spending much of my youth caring for Casey. Casey unfortunately followed in my mother's footsteps in that she began excessively drinking, smoking, partying, etc. She enrolled in a university that's known for being a party school, but dropped out during her first year after getting pregnant with my niece. 14 weeks into Casey's pregnancy, we learned that the baby would likely be born with intellectual and physical disabilities. I am pro-choice and discussed abortion as an option with Casey, who at the time refused and assured me that she would love her baby no matter what disability she was born with. My niece is now 4 years old and is nonverbal with pretty severe cognitive delays and motor / sensory issues. My mother has been sober for about 5 years and has since come around to help out Casey with my niece. She feels bad about our poor upbringing and as a result enables Casey to continue partying and being an irresponsible parent. Casey is hardly ever around while my mother is left alone with my niece. She's pretty much become my niece's 24/7 caretaker. Both my mom and sister have asked that I help babysit from time to time, but I politely declined because I know nothing about caring for special needs children. Recently I learned that my mother is planning to move a few states away as her boyfriend would like to be closer to his family, meaning she will no longer be able to help take care of my niece. Now Casey has asked that I become my niece's godmother and that I move back to our hometown and in with her to help out. I declined because I know that what she really means is that she would like me to become my niece's primary caretaker. She then asked for me to compromise by having me pay for a home caretaker and for assisted living for when my niece turns 18. Again, I refused. My husband and I both have well-paying jobs, so technically we could afford it, but I'm sick of everyone rewarding Casey for her poor choices. This resulted in a screaming match between her and I, where in the heat of the moment I told Casey that she should have gotten an abortion if she knew she was unwilling to step up and be a mother to a child with special needs. Now I am receiving daily texts from both her and my mother stating how terrible of a person I am and that if I truly cared about our family that I would help out. So, am I wrong here? Call CPS. That's my 2 cents. CPS. Am I wrong for telling a man he was too old to have a toddler? I, 51 female, recently went on a date with a 54-year-old male. I knew he had 2 kids, but while we were eating, he tells me their ages, 32 female and 3-year-old male. That's a deal breaker to me. At my age with grown kids, 25 and 26, the last thing I want to be bothered with is a man with a toddler and all the potential drama. The mom is 30. I went on with the date because I was having fun. When it was over, I had every intention of letting things just fade away. Yes, I can be passive aggressive. Well, he called a couple of days later wanting to go out again. I tried the whole I'm not ready thing, but he kept trying. Finally, I told him that the fact that he has a toddler is a deal breaker. Too much possible drama, and I'm way too old for that. Hint, hint. He told me I was being hypocritical since I was a single mom. I said a single mom of 2 grown kids. He kept repeating himself, and I kept repeating myself. Finally, I told him that having a baby at 51 shows a stunning lack of judgment that I don't need in my world. He was quiet for a minute, told me that was a messed up thing to say. He told me I should have told him that before he paid for my dinner and that it was a B move, then hung up. So, am I wrong here? He just butthurt because you called him out because he was being an irresponsible adult and having a baby at 51. Bah. Am I wrong for sending the police to my stepsister's wedding? I, 32 female, lost my mom when I was 23. It was by far the most traumatic loss I experienced. It was unfair, untimely, and preventable. I got in therapy and was doing better, but I had issues with my dad's new wife and her daughter, who's 25 and just got married weeks ago. We do not have a close relationship, but we were cordial enough to sit at dinner tables. My stepsister treats me as a relative and was as much distant from me. But after my father got sick, we had to see each other a lot. I'm handling his care while stepmom works full-time, and stepsister doesn't do much, though she's always visiting when I moved in to help my dad. I brought with me all of my mom's belongings, and my stepsister showed interest in my mom's necklace and asked if she could borrow it to wear it at her wedding. I refused, and she tried every method to convince me, and I had to put it in a place where I thought it'd be safe after my stepmother got involved. As the wedding approached, they both kept convincing me to let my stepsister have it. She bragged about affording a better one, but it was a matter of showing who's in control. I stood my ground and told them how serious I was, so they backed off. I didn't attend the wedding to stay with my dad. I remember wanting to change where I was hiding the necklace while the house was empty, but I found it was gone. After searching for hours, I called my stepmom and she said not to worry, my stepsister took it and will return it when the wedding is over, but it was clear that I won't see it till after the honeymoon since she and her daughter was staying at the hotel. I screamed at her to return it, but she argued about not wanting to leave the guests and the wedding already started. I told her I'd get it myself, but she forbid me from coming, saying she'd have to keep me out from wanting to make a scene. I called the police and explained to them what was happening. I informed them my stepsister intended to leave for her honeymoon with my property. The police were sent to where the wedding was being held, and they were able to retrieve the necklace from my stepsister. My stepmom returned home and kept shouting at me, calling me petty and crazy to send the police to my stepsister's wedding, ruining it and humiliating them over a piece of jewelry. She was screaming at my sick dad, telling him to handle me after the stunt that I pulled at the wedding. I defended myself, saying I only wanted an item that belonged to me that they took without my permission returned. She argued further that I could have waited to get it back, but I chose to burn the bridge with my stepsister and said that she considers me dead after this. She said stuff I can't mention, but here's all I can say: it was a bad night. I might have overreacted by getting the police involved, but I had no guarantee of getting the necklace back since I have experience with them in the past. So, was I wrong here? It's simple. If you don't want to get the police involved, you don't steal people's property. So no, you're not wrong. Am I wrong for giving my daughter's vegan friend meaty... Sorry. Do it again. Wait. Okay, Bisma. Am I wrong for giving my daughter's vegan friend meaty meals during sleepovers? My daughter and her friend Em are both 12 years old and like to have sleepovers every now and then. Em's family maintains a strict vegan diet where she isn't even allowed to drink milk. That's what fucking veganism is. Yeah, okay. Her parents are nice people, although a bit on the neurotic side. So whenever she's over, I always make a big meaty meal for them. Last weekend, I made some cheeseburgers and steak for them on the grill with a big glass of milk. M absolutely loves it and always politely asks for more, which I happily provide. M is a bright young girl and she's a good friend to my daughter, but I notice how much smaller and paler she is compared to my daughter. I think it's likely tied to her family's diet. Not for you to decide. For snacks, I give them some of my Venetian turkey. For breakfast, I typically make a big plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, again with a big glass of milk. Despite her size, M always wolfs down whatever I make, and I have to say, every time she leaves, it looks like she has a healthy glow to her. What? I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I think M is a bit malnourished. Nothing against vegans or anything. She knows she'll get in big trouble if she tells her folks. I think she fibs a bit to her parents about what she eats here. So it got me thinking, am I wrong for letting my daughter's vegan friend eat meat at my house? Fam, like, some of these things, like, you can't. I'll give you this. You had good intentions. That's it. Am I wrong for forcing my daughter to go to a party? I, 44 female, have 3 girls who I'll call May 21, Jessica 19, and Diana 16. Of course I'm biased, but all 3 of them are genuinely beautiful and charming. However, Diana isn't as social as her 2 big sisters. It's the classical teenage sitcom differences. Oh god, this is going south already. May and Jessica were social butterflies in high school. They had lots of friends and were very well known. Diana, on the other hand, has had the same 5-person group of friends since middle school, and spends most of their time playing video games, particularly League of Legends and Smash Bros. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say something's wrong with people who play League of Legends? In general, they are more on the geek side. Like I said, a very cliche difference. Diana has had bad luck, and thanks to lockdown, she hasn't had the full high school experience her sisters had. But she doesn't seem as affected as one would think. On one hand, it makes sense. Despite the worst part of the lockdown last year, she pretty much played with her friends online quite often, so I'm guessing she didn't feel as isolated as her sisters during this time, but still, it concerns me a little. Teenage years are a lot about being social and adventurous, and even without this global situation, she chooses to stay indoors. Anyway, the problem is that Diana's high school is planning a Halloween dance this month since last year it was cancelled. I imagine she'd be excited for her first dance, but she just isn't, and yesterday she told us that the day of the dance, Friday the 29th, she and her friends plan to participate in a local League of Legends tournament. This made me angry. She literally has all the time in the world for video games, but a limited amount of high school events, and she's just ditching them for irrelevant video game tournaments. I usually try to be supportive of her hobbies, but this crossed the line, and I told her she couldn't go to the tournament, and if she didn't go to the dance, then she won't go out that day nor play video games for the weekend. Like I said, my girl is as beautiful as her sisters, and I'm sure she wouldn't have a difficult time making friends. She doesn't have anything to be insecure about. When May and Jessica had this dance, they start prepping in September, trying new styles, finding the best costumes, all of that. I would drive them around to help them in any way possible to prepare. I wouldn't call it a tradition, but it's a moment that's also important for me. Oh, I see why you all butthurt about this. After the argument, my husband told me I was being an a-hole, and if she didn't want to go, that was on her. But what if she regrets not going when she's older? She can always play video games, but time won't stop, and she won't be in high school much longer. Still, my husband is rarely this upfront, so I wanted to know, am I wrong here? You guys in the comments, attack! This woman deserves to be attacked. I am promoting bullying in this section. Actually, no, TikTok, no, I'm not promoting bullying, because in this video we'll get, taken down. But, attack this lady. What? Am I wrong for refusing to give up my dream wedding dress, even though it means my fiance's family won't attend? I'm in a lot of turmoil right now, and it feels like everything is falling apart. I have never had a great relationship with my future mother-in-law. It isn't terrible, but I can sense that she doesn't like me. My fiance is very close to his family, so there has been some tension. I didn't invite my mother-in-law wedding dress shopping because our relationship was awkward, but I thought I'd show her a picture to make her feel included. My dress is a beautiful, flowery, beachy dress, but not technically a wedding dress and could be ordered in color. I bought it from a small local boutique that we both love. My mother-in-law said that I can't wear that dress because she bought the same one for her 50th birthday, which is 2 weeks after my wedding. My mother-in-law does have the dress though in a mint green color. There is enough detailing that it's still clearly the same dress. And she has a receipt to prove that she got it first. Lavish birthday parties are a thing in our circle, so I know she has invested serious time and money. I said that I'm still going to wear the dress, despite the fact I could easily return it with no loss, because I didn't do this out of malice and I love it. She said if she wears it 2 weeks after I do, everyone is going to think she is pathetic in copying her son's wife. I said sorry, but not really my problem. Everyone has gone crazy since I said that. His entire side of the family has backed out of the wedding, so like 15 people, and it will be noticeable. His sisters were supposed to be in the wedding party on his side, but dropped out and have blocked him on everything. His stepdad won't talk to him and says he regrets raising him and he isn't a real man because a real man would stand up for his mom. My fiancé is hurting and found out his family had a big beach day and invited everyone but him. He called mother-in-law and they talked but didn't come to a resolution. She said if I refuse to do the right thing, the only answer is no one going to her party can go to the wedding. He is now mad at me, saying that my mother-in-law had the dress first. So, am I wrong here? I don't want to give up my dream wedding dress. Am I wrong for blowing up at my dad for asking me to pay for a family dinner? I, 27 male, lost my mom at 15 in a road accident. I was a fairly airheaded kid in school and was great academically. My dad, 48 male, remarried to Isabel 10 months later for my care. The 2 years after my mom's passing were extremely hard on me. Isabel was temperamental with me, sometimes nice or almost ignoring me. She had a son who was 2 years older. We practically had no relationship as he moved for college around the time they got married. When I was 17, I was going through old pictures. I ran into some domestic pictures of Isabel and my dad. I realized many of them were from Seattle. Only time my dad was there was when he had been working on site for weeks the year before my mom died. There had been a fight between my parents about the on-sites not bringing the family extra money. I realized that my dad was probably cheating on my mom with Isabel prior to her death. I don't know if my mom knew this, though I think so. I kept it quiet because Isabel was pregnant with my stepsister at this time. I found out later that year that my mom had left me as her sole inheritor, which was quite some money. Her parents' inheritance money and 50% of the house. This had helped me pay for college. My dad challenged this will, causing some delay in executing it. Some words were said about my mom, which I didn't like. My dad also had taken $6,000 from my account. I let it go because I honestly was happy to have money for college. After moving out of state to college, I've been low contact with my dad. I had a court wedding due to COVID and have a 7-month-old now. 2 weeks ago, I was in town and my dad decided to meet me and my family, which I agreed to. It was at a nicer restaurant in town and along came Isabel, my stepsister, and Isabel's son, his girlfriend, and 2 kids. The dinner was good until Isabel brought the house up and mentioned my stepbrother's wife losing her job. I deflected this to a private chat with my dad. No fucking way am I giving it up. This made the conversation much more difficult. When the check came, my dad asked me to take care of the bill and I refused, asking them to split it. I had no idea everyone was coming and had no contact with any of them prior to this. My dad started to bring up how I had a nest egg and my mom babied me. Suddenly, my stepbrother said, "Dude, just get it, you'll be fine." I kinda saw red at this moment and I told him to shut the fuck up and that my mom gave me the money because my dad was an adulterer. Isabel got in the middle and asked me not to talk to my dad like that, and my wife tried to calm me down. I said I don't want anything to do with this family and to keep our relationship just between me and my dad. Anyways, more words were shared and I handed them the cash from my side and left. My wife said I shouldn't have acted like that but still had my side. So, was I wrong here for my reaction? Am I wrong for making all the women in my family leave my wedding after they showed up wearing white? I, 33 male, have a large family, mostly aunts and female cousins aside from the mom, stepmom, stepsister, and grandmother. I don't know how to say this, but all those women I mentioned above are into teasing and joking. They formed a unit which I admit is kind of toxic, and they tease and roast every new woman that enters the family by marriage by setting up tests to see if they deserve to be part of the family, or roast their looks and styles to the point of breaking confidence and self-esteem down. Then, after a few months of teasing, they announced that they finally welcomed them into the family. The newest member would join in on the teasing too. When I first introduced my then girlfriend, now wife, I made it clear that I didn't want any of the women in the unit to come at her or harass her, not even with a single word. They went behind my back and roasted her looks and job, and I discovered they've been doing it on Facebook. I made them apologize one by one after they gave the "we're just testing the water to see if she's capable to be part of the family" excuse. They didn't want to apologize, but once I said I wouldn't invite any of the unit unless they apologized, including my mom, everyone immediately apologized and brought gifts for my wife. My wedding was 2 weeks ago. There was talk about the women in the family wanting to pull a prank on my wife by wearing white and called it the ultimate test to see how my wife would react. My brother warned me, so I announced that if any one of them showed up in white, I'd have them kicked out, including my mom. They said this wasn't true and they'd never do such a thing. But they showed up to my wedding day one by one wearing white dresses, and each and every one of them was told to leave after they tried giving excuses by either making scenes or getting the men involved. The senior women of the unit, who are my mom and aunts, also showed up in white but refused to leave. I threatened to take harsher action and my mom was pissed, telling me to step aside, but I didn't let her in. I had her leave while the men in my family were watching stunned. Dad was on my side and supported me a lot. My wife was hurt beyond measure, but the women in the family were pissed. My cousin blasted me on social media later, saying I excluded all the women from the wedding because my wife was so insecure she couldn't handle another woman's presence at her wedding. I felt absolutely awful because my wedding was being interrupted by them making scenes. I had an argument with them and my mom berated me, saying it was supposed to be a prank, but I said they were taking it too far. My mom said I took it too far by kicking them out because they were trying to get a reaction from my wife to see if she was one of those bridezillas and were going to change as soon as the prank was over, but I ruined my own wedding and entire wedding by reacting so aggressively. I stopped talking after she said I had to bring my wife and apologize. I haven't seen a lot of them in 2 weeks and they've excluded me from everything. So, was I wrong for how I handled the situation? Absolutely. Oh my god, look at this. Absolutely not. Your wife is one lucky woman to have a man stand by her like that. Like, applause to you. Good job. Am I wrong for telling my sister-in-law no one cares that she's pregnant? See, this is one of those posts where it's like, duh, you're the asshole, but then when I read it, it's like, oh, never mind, watch. Backstory. My cousin, 33 female, who I'll call Mary, lost her husband, 32 male, and 2 of her 3 children, 3 female and 9-month-old male, in a car accident last week. Her and her daughter, 5, are as you would expect, and it's just heartbreaking. Well, today was the funeral, and my brother's wife announced her pregnancy the second they arrived at our house this morning, and we were like, okay, congratulations, but please keep it on the down low for today. Well, when we arrived at the church, she kept making gagging sounds and rubbing her stomach, saying, I, as a mom, can't imagine what she's going through. They have no kids, so people would look at her and she'd tell them she was pregnant. Afterwards, at my aunt's house, my sister-in-law kept making everything about her. Like, someone was in the bathroom and my sister-in-law would loudly say, pregnant lady needs to pee. She literally told my cousin to give her her seat so the lady with the baby could rest her feet. I ignored her until she came to Mary, stuck out her flat belly and said, me and Isaac just found out I was pregnant, and honestly, we are beside ourselves. It could happen to us. Mary broke down crying. I snapped. Who says that to a woman who just literally lost 2 babies? I said loudly to my sister-in-law, no one gives an F you're pregnant. Look around. It's not just 1, but 2 babies' funerals, not to mention the love of Mary's life. Like, I knew you were an attention seeker, but for fuck's sake, you took the test 4 days ago. Just leave. Good for you. She did leave in tears, and my brother called me a fat bitter bitch. Oh, what the fuck? I've gotten phone calls from my brother and my sister-in-law's family calling me the world of names because I made a pregnant woman cry. Mary and my aunt thank me, but if I'm being honest, I feel bad about causing a scene. So please put me in my place if I'm wrong. Her husband, your brother should have pulled her aside and be like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Shut the fuck up. But if he don't do it, you can do it. So, little update. I found out this morning that my brother and my sister-in-law harassed my cousin with phone calls for her to talk to me about yesterday. My aunt gave both of them an earful and then made my cousin turn off her phone. My brother and my sister-in-law were at my parents' house trying to get their side in when I arrived. They both came at me screaming and yelling about my sister-in-law's feelings, and she couldn't miscarry from the stress I caused her. Sister-in-law said if I didn't lose my attitude and apologize, I'd never be in their child's life. Oh, brother, step up, brother. I told her I didn't care, and if she was going to use the kid as a weapon, I didn't want to be in their life anyway. Things got heated, and my father ended up kicking out my brother and my sister-in-law. So yeah, all this drama at a time, we should be there for one another. I'm so sorry you have to go through that, but your sister-in-law's fucking psycho. Your brother's whipped too. I, 22 male, just learned that my sister, 29 female, had an abortion to be able to donate me part of her liver. It caused her divorce, and I can't stop hating myself. I was very sick 4 years ago and was in need of a liver transplant. My situation was that it was very unlikely that I would get one in time. At that time, my sister was pregnant. I didn't know as it was early and she was only 2 months. My situation was getting worse, and my sister decided to have an abortion, and then 2 months later, we did the transplant surgery. Oh my god, what a nice sister. I never knew about the pregnancy. All I knew was that she gave me half of the liver. My sister and her husband divorced a year later. I didn't know the truth until yesterday when my mom slipped up about the abortion that my sister had. I asked her about it and she told me everything. She told me that my sister made her promise not to tell me and she failed that promise. My sister was very happy. My brother-in-law was a very decent guy. I knew they were looking forward to having children. They were great together. She always told us about how lucky she is to have found him. Apparently, at the time of their decision, my sister and her husband had great disagreement. He didn't want her to have the abortion and risk the transplant surgery and was hopeful that my situation might sort itself out without my sister's help. The chance was very small, but it was there. My sister didn't agree. They couldn't convince one another, and my sister did things anyway without his blessing. They tried working things out after the surgery. They went to counseling. They even tried to have another baby, but they couldn't get themselves to do it. He couldn't forgive my sister, and she wasn't all that apologetic, so they ended up separating and eventually divorcing. I asked my mom if my sister still thinks that she did the right thing, and she said she's not sure. I can't stop feeling guilty. My sister saved my life, but destroyed her own life by doing it. She had to abort the baby she definitely loved and looked forward to, and did that knowing that it will probably end her marriage as well. I was ready to go at that time. I had accepted my fate and I was at peace. She should have just let me. My brother-in-law should have told me, so I would have talked her out of it. I'm surprised he didn't, and I can't feel anything but hate for myself. I don't know what to do. Should I talk to my sister? What should I tell her? Should I keep my mouth shut and pretend that I don't know? I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to look into her eyes and not show that I know. I just don't know what to do. Please, please help me. Am I the asshole for giving my son the same name as an ex and not telling my husband? Absolutely. I haven't even read the story yet, but I'm already saying asshole, asshole, asshole. You can't do stuff like that. Why? Like, that's shady. That's shady, because if the roles were reversed, if a guy named a daughter an ex's name, you would be livid. Let's not lie. So, I'm 32 female and my husband is also my age. We met in grad school 9 years ago, got married 5 years ago, and have a 3-year-old son, Isaiah. His name isn't Isaiah, but something like it. Similar and traditional without being overly common for boys in North America. It was recently homecoming weekend and my 10-year reunion from my undergrad. My husband knows that I had one serious relationship in undergrad. It lasted 2 years with someone named Ben. My relationship with Isaiah was not as serious as it was with Ben, and since I lived away from home, I never introduced my family to Isaiah. What he doesn't know is that I also dated Isaiah for 6 months after. I never told him because I liked that name as a baby name. I didn't want to concern them with the new relationship either, as I didn't enjoy having to announce my breakup with Ben to the whole family. So we're in my college town for the weekend and out to dinner. Isaiah walks in with some of his old friends and immediately comes up to us and introduces himself to my husband. Since his name isn't super common, I see my husband almost say, "You have the same name as our son," but he stops himself and I can tell his brain is connecting the dots. Ooh, he got busted. Look at that Morphe highlighter. We leave the restaurant, and when we're getting ready for bed, he confronts me about Isaiah. I admit to it. I apologize and stress that it wasn't a serious relationship. We were both graduating and didn't want to stay together. I don't think of adult Isaiah when I see our son either. Doesn't matter, fam. Wrong. My husband says that if we have a daughter, he wants to name her after one of his exes during the fight. This makes me feel like shit, and I realize I may have been the asshole. So can you guys tell me, am I the asshole here? Yes! God, like, so here's the thing. It's worse when you hide it and then they find out later, right? You know how people like to say it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission? That's not in all situations. Because here, if you had described to him, like, hey, I love this name. Actually, wait, I kind of understand both, because, like, what if you never saw Isaiah ever again in your life and you're like, fuck it, I really like this name and I have no connection to him? Have I not been wearing 2 earrings this whole time? Malala. It doesn't matter because you only see this side anyway. Yeah, you just gotta discuss these things. You say, hey, by the way, this was an ex's name, but I have 0 attachment to him. I don't like him at all. I just really love the name. What do you think? And if he doesn't like it, then you have to respect it. You were deceptive. Am I wrong for telling a social worker the real reason my sister wants a foster kid? I, 28 female, have a sister who's 36. For the sake of the story, I'll just call her Jane. Jane is married to Bob and they have 2 kids, boy and a girl. My niece and nephew are wonderful kids and no trouble at all. They fight as siblings do, but nothing big. I love them. Now for about 2 years, I did live with my sister. It was a miserable time that really affected our relationship. She saw me as free labor, money, and babysitting. Even when I managed to get a small part-time job, she demanded I hand over nearly half my pay or get out. It was hell as she took complete advantage of me. I moved out as soon as I could, and we have little to no contact outside of family gatherings. Now, after I moved out, she started complaining how she has no help with the kids and never gets a break. I babysit sometimes, but I have made it clear just because I'm off work doesn't mean I want an 8-hour day with my niece and nephew. Anyway, she started talking about how she wanted to foster a kid. Not a kid, but a teenager. I pressed her for more info on this, and she said she wants to adopt a teenager so she has a live-in babysitter for her kids. This is her logic. I want a kid around 16 or 17, someone who may have been in the system for a while. They can share a bedroom with your nephew. She only has a 3-bedroom house, or sleep in the garage. They can help me with housework, chores, cook, and help me with my business. She bakes and sells cookies on the side. Also, babysit the kids so me and Bob can go out sometimes or have some time alone. They'll be so grateful for a home and won't complain. I won't have to pay them at all. And when they turn 18, I can just sign up for another foster kid. A teenager will be so much easier than a little kid, and they will be grateful just to have a roof, food, siblings if they have been separated from their real ones, and clothes. What the hell? How do people think of this shit? What am I reading?